Sitaram, once more welcome to SWA DHARMA, carried exclusively on Samkhya TV on Thursdays between 6:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. SWA DHARMA, where we share information on the principles within Sanatana Dharma, all in an effort to get a better perspective. For the next two sessions, we'll be speaking on Raatri. Currently, we are on the penultimate day of Kalmas, sometimes referred to as Karavas, which basically is an unstable position of the sun. And as we know, once the position of the sun is not stable, there is a tendency for an impact, a negative impact on undertakings. Hence, we veer from major projects, beginning the building of houses, starting repairs, major business investments, otherwise. So we veer from that because of Kalmas. The succeeding period is Raatri, of which there are two major Raatri during the course of the year. And that too, the sun is not in a position of great influence. Hence, we hasten to worship Devi to fortify the sun's position. For instance, prevalence of viruses, diseases, etc. They are spawned, very often spawned within this period. Natural disasters, possibility of warfare, the entire instability is related to that of the position of the sun. Hence, as we say, Devi's worship this period is dedicated towards Devi worship. Devi worship, as we are most times accustomed performing, we group it as Mother Saraswati, Mother Lakshmi, and Mother Durga. But we allow Devi Bhagwat to bring some clarity to who or what number of Devis ought to be worshipped in Raatri period. Bear in mind that we have the Supreme. If we refer to him as Mahavishnu, then his spouse Mahalakshmi. If we refer to him as Sri Ram, then his spouse Sita Devi, and so on. But this Mahalakshmi manifests herself not in 3, but in 6 major forms whose worship ought to be done during the period of Raatri. So we analyze the quotation from Devi Bhagwat. That supreme divinity, that Mahadevi, is also referred to as Mool Prakriti. The meaning is self-explanatory, and we proceed to identify who are these 6 projections of that supreme Devi. Ganesh Janani Durga Radha Lakshmi hi Saraswati. So there we are. Ganesh Janani. Janani being the mother of Lord Ganesha, identified as Durga. So that's 1. Radha Mata, 2. Lakshmi, 3. Saraswati, 4. Savitri cha srishti vidhau prakritihi panchadha smrita. And here the 5th one, Savitri. Savitri Devi is identified as the 5th projection of that supreme divine form, the female form of Bhagwan. And Savitri is, by extension, a projection of the very Saraswati. So traditionally, we are accustomed to pujaing or to performing puja to Durga Mata, Lakshmi Mata, Saraswati Mata. The shlok goes on to point out that we should include Radha Mata during Raatri worship, either Raatri during the course of each year, and Savitri Devi. But the Puranas there were little hidden secrets in the writings of writers like Bhagwan, Vyas, and so forth. And if we go further into Devi Bhagwat, we realize there is a 6th major projection of Devi who should be worshipped in Raatri period, and that is Shashtamsha, the 6th ans, the 6th projection, Prakritiya cha Sacha Shashti Prakritita, is Shashti Devi, the spouse of Kartikeya Swami, who we have often referred to, and we still do refer to during the morning prayer, aired on Samkhya TV every day at 6 a.m., where we bring up the name of Shashti Devi and we prostrate and make obeisance to her, knowing the value of her contribution to our daily existence. So these are the 6 Devis whose worship should be done on any Raatri. So we tarry a while. What if we weren't? What if we had stuck to the three major forms that we are familiar with, Durga Mata, Lakshmi Mata, Saraswati Mata? There is nothing wrong. We have not sinned. But remember, knowledge is about expansion and growth. So now, having been pointed in that direction, we are expected now to develop our worship to Devi, bearing in mind the bigger picture, which is we worship to fortify the sun's position in this period for not our sake necessarily, but for the sake of the world, because diseases, natural disasters, warfare don't affect individuals, they affect populations, they affect countries. So that is how the Hindu worships, particularly in Raatri, for these purposes, to avert potential disasters with our fellow man and other countries, as the case may be. So this week's program hopefully we dedicate to the first three, the ones that we are familiar with: Lakshmi Mata, Durga Mata, Saraswati Mata. The recommended mantra to use effectively in Havan during Navratri period is Om Aim Hrim Klim Chamundayai Vichai Swaha. So we make oblations, 108 oblations if possible. It's a nice practice to get together with the family, let everybody join in. And every night of the Navratri will be starting tomorrow, Friday. Get together with the family and perform Havan 108 oblations with ghee. This form of worship can be expanded. The Vidyalaya has developed and tailored certain of the offerings. If one is so desirous, we are always privy to sharing that information, but this is a good starting point. A quick interpretation of the mantra. Aim is the sacred syllable of Lakshmi Mata, Hrim the sacred syllable of Durga Mata, and Klim the sacred syllable and very powerful syllables of Saraswati Mata. Chamundayai Vichai Swaha. Chand and Mund were two army generals of the Rakshasas Shumb and Nishumb, and they were destroyed by the intervention of Devi, of Durga Mata in this instance, but also with the input of Lakshmi Mata and Durga Mata. So we reach the junction where there ought not to be separation, taking 9 days and separating it for whichever Devis, as the case may be. They ought to be worshipped every day together during 9 days or nights, as the case may be. Very interesting mantra. One can go on and on, but suffice it to say that what does the destruction of Chand and Moon have to do with us? Because just as in the Puranic history, Shumb and Nishumb didn't interact too much in the beginning. They perpetuated all their evil through their two army generals, Chand and Mund. As we too, we sometimes are not, we don't encounter the perpetrators of those who bring discomfort and malice into our lives, but we actually encounter the arms of such people. So what we encounter is the Chand and the Mund in life. And if we take refuge with this mantra at the feet of the 6 Devis, then we will have a great possibility there will be a stay of hand from us being affected and subdued and put under duress by the wicked generals of the evil doers. In a nutshell, that's where the mantra heads. But of course, that's just in a nutshell. There is much more to it. As in Satsang we said, we will develop. So we come to looking at Mother Saraswati. So we begin with Mother Saraswati's worship. She is, of course, the goddess of speech, learning, music, etc., the arts. We ought to point out, especially of learning, because in life we are supposed to be students throughout the entire course of our life. There are always new things to learn, and if even we are privy to the knowledge in some skill, there are always dimensions which you can get to. Sometimes it will help to expedite processes that we are involved in. Sometimes it brings to the fore hidden secrets And that's the learning we are speaking about, and Mother Saraswati impacts greatly in our life if haven't gone to her devoutly. The student needs to pay much attention, because learning in the context of a student refers to not only dealing with the allotted work, homework as the case may be, but going beyond, going a step further, and that is where the input of Saraswati Mata comes to the fore. We look at this extract actually taken from Devi Bhagavad, from Saraswati Mata Katha, shows us the far-reaching powers of Mother Saraswati. It says here, Vyasa Purana Sutram cha Prapacha Valmiki Meda. That Vyas, who was a projection of God himself, the most prolific writer in Sanatana Dharma, came from the Supreme as Vyas. Actually, it is the 17th incarnation, and we digress to be relevant in the sense that in Sanatana Dharma, we recognize that there will be 24 stool avatar, 24 manifestations of the Supreme, stool being that where the world generally recognizes this is an incarnation, at least particularly in the folds of Sanatana Dharma. And the 17th time he came as Vyas, as he came subsequently as Ram, Balaram and Krishna. And then there's a little lull in Bhagavad Puran, and we reach to Buddha, number 23, and we are told there are 24, Kalki to come. What's about 21 and 22? As we go along in satsang, we'll point out these. As we say, the books are all written with certain secrets which a guru helps one to understand. So this Vyas, point being made, he too appeared and showed the pattern, the behavioral patterns of a normal human being, and he seemed to be puzzled, showed that he was puzzled about Sutra. Sutra is the rules of grammar. They are the rules of grammar. And in constructing the Puranas, because Vyas Bhagwan is the author of the 18 Puranas, he reached the junction where he was in doubt for grammatical purposes. So what did he do? He went to Valmiki, Adi Kavi, the original poet, Valmiki, for help. What did Valmiki do? Mauni bhutascha sasmara tamiva jagadambikam. Valmiki, he took stock of himself. He held back. He remained quiet. He could not respond at that point in time. He realized that probably it was beyond his league. What did he do? He had to proffer an answer, because he was asked as a great guru to give an answer. What did he do? Samprapya nirmalam jnanam brahmam jadhvam sadipakam. He went into meditation, deep meditation, to Mother Saraswati Mata. And what happened? Purana Sutram Shrutvacha Vyasa Krishna Kulur Bhava. Then Vyas was, his doubts were untangled by Valmiki through the graces of Saraswati Mata. And then the continuation of the Puranas went on under the astute pen of Vyas Bhagwan, and today we can sit back and enjoy the Puranas, because the Puranas are essentially about Bhakt and Bhagwan, God and devotee. They enact the abstract principles of the Vedas, the Upanishads and so forth. So the Puranas actually bring the teachings close to us in that fashion, as itihas, as the case may be. And this all happened. We sit in the comfort of our home, of our temple, and savor the deep writings of the Puranas. And it all came to pass, yes, through the pen of Vyas Bhagwan, but great inputs were made by the sage Valmiki. And Valmiki was not hesitant to explain to the world that really and truly he was able to give those answers through the graces of Mother Saraswati. Continuing on Mother Saraswati, we look another extract of Devi Bhagavad. And sometimes it is asked, well, why put up the Sanskrit? We want the viewer to, even if he or she is not familiar with the language, to know that it's coming from a source. It is anchored in a reference text. But we do as much explanation as we can do with the earth, so we also use it as a teaching session for basic vocabulary. Saraswatim Shukla Varnam. What does that mean? This is Saraswati Mata Dhyan. Very powerful dhyan. And it says, her, Saraswati Mata, Shukla Varnam. Shukla is white and Varn is color. So the color that Mother Saraswati is enthralled with, like we offer flower, chandan, etc. Even in prasad, the fruit that is in season with a white inside, many come to mind. Those will be the ideal fruits that will form part of the prasad for Mother Saraswati. This is declared in Devi Bhagavad. There is no ambiguity. White is the color of Mother Saraswati. If for whatever reason we may not have a white flower at home, but then we focus a lot on the children in the pursuit of their studies, and we ensure, we make efforts to make sure that every morning they get to the deities, get to Saraswati Mata. If we cannot get a white flower, it's not a sin. If we get another flower, fine. But there should be at the back of the mind, if we profess to love God, if we profess to love Saraswati Mata, then we ought to take the recommendations and adhere to them as far as is possible. Sometimes, as we said, they may not be possible at a certain time, but we have to bear it in mind and make the concerted efforts to let it happen. And this is not just about what color. As we have spent time in satsang, these colors have great ramifications in the earth, in the meaning, in what the projection of Saraswati Mata and what the impact of Saraswati Mata or any deity as the case may be will have when they are appeased by the color that is brought to them, because these colors have history. Even the weapons, what they bear, even the symbols that they bear in their hands have deep-rooted meanings. And here is one, Veena Pustaka Dharinim. Veena, of course, is the instrument, the stringed instrument, which we all are familiar with. That is what she holds in her Dharinim will hold in one of her hands, and Pustaka, the book of knowledge. And that is why she is referred to as also the goddess of knowledge and learning. That is the symbolism aspect of Saraswati Mata, what she bears in her hands and a color that appeases her. We turn our attention now to Mother Lakshmi, and we allow Devi Bhagavad again to give us a clearer picture on the worship of Mother Lakshmi, on what she represents. So Lakshmi Mata, she is the goddess of prosperity. Yes, she is the goddess of wealth, but wealth forms part of prosperity. And to confine Mother Lakshmi's ambit to being the goddess of wealth is just to minimize, really and truly, unjustifiably so, her portfolio. She is the goddess of prosperity, inclusive of wealth. And she came out of the churning of the ocean. Remember that great churning of the ocean from which these 14 extracts were taken. Very, very important extracts, one of which is Dhanvantari Bhagwan. God came as Dhanvantari, the god of medicine, to establish medicine into the world in that very churning of the ocean. But she also appears in many, many important forms which we ought to tap into to get a better picture of what Mother Lakshmi represents. And we allow the shlok to say, Surabhi Sagre Jata. She is also Surabhi. Well, let's identify them first. Dakshina Yagya Kamini, she is also known as Dakshina Devi. Aditya Deva Mata Tvam, she is Aditi Mata. Kamalaya, we are talking about that Lakshmi Mata who stands on the lotus. Swaha Tvam Cha Havridani, she is the Swaha that we call reverently when we perform Havan. Kavyadani Swadhasmita, and when we perform Tilanjali, she is that name known as Swadha. So her favorite color and has been declared really in satsang, what we've done before, as yellow. We gave the references there. We don't want to overdo it or overstate, but we will have other information to move on to. So we talk a little bit about these forms of Mother Lakshmi, who really and truly we should make the efforts to puja, to bring part of our worship. We can do a demo here, and it could clock under 15 seconds and cover the major forms of Lakshmi. Om Shri Surabhi Mataya Namaha, Om Shri Dakshina Divyai Namaha, Om Shri Aditi Mataya Namaha, Om Shri Swaha Divyai Namaha, Om Shri Swadha Divyai Namaha. And we could add to Prithvi Mata, Om Shri Prithvi Mataya Namaha. Those would be the 6 of the major projections of Lakshmi Mata, which we should at some point in time incorporate in prayer, as we have just clocked it under 50 seconds. It's not just reciting by rote memory, but staying in satsang. Like for instance, we will say Om Shri Aditi Mataya Namaha. The mind should be running on this form of Aditi, who is the mother of Suraj Narayan. And so much can be said about that. So we just gave little bits of information that if the prayer is introduced at some point in time in our daily prayer structure, we have an idea. It is rooted in substance that can benefit us. So Surabhi being the mother of the cows, as we all know, Bhagwan Krishna, when God came as Lord Krishna, he displayed that connect with the cows. And in Hinduism, it's a lot of symbolism. The cow is sacred for manifold reasons. One that quickly comes to mind, that even in remote villages of India, they still burn the dry cow dung from which you get methane. And of course, you know, methane is fuel. That's where they generate their fuel from. So even what we consider the waste of the cow has value, and it's clean fuel. It's clean fuel, has value. So that's just summarizing the symbolism of the cow, why it's sacred in Sanatana Dharma. We come to Dakshina Devi. It's a form of Lakshmi. We hear in Bhagavad Gita that one should not perform action for reward. Well, then we carry the conversation a little deeper. What about the student? After the student works assiduously at his or her lessons and work and so forth in preparation for the exam, that student is expectant of a positive result, of success in the exams. So we have to put in context when we mean that work but don't look for rewards. There are conditions when rewards are mandatory, when we work towards them. A diligent employee, a dedicated employee is expected to be of benefit to the institution where he or she is employed, and is expectant that their good work will be recognized in some form or the other. And if this is not happening, if the dedicated employee, if the diligent student finds that things are not gelling as they should, with all their deep efforts, then it is good to tap into Dakshina Devi even before this happens, because we're not bargaining with Mother Lakshmi. We are just tapping into the forms of Mother Lakshmi. And when we study the Katha of Dakshina Devi, which too is in Devi Bhagavad, we will understand how we get to the stage where things will happen, things will gel for the dedicated worker, for the diligent student. So Dakshina Devi needs to be tapped into as we do our prayer to Lakshmi Mata. We come to Aditi Mata, mentioned earlier. So much could be said about all these forms. Aditi Mata inclusive, she is the mother of Surya Narayan. If anyone is a practitioner of Surya Pranayam, which we have done in satsang here, one will realize that entourage of Surya Narayan is so important in our daily life. And we go a step further. Remember, the 12 projections of Surya Narayan Swami are governed by the fact that his mother, Aditi, gave to the world this light. Swaha, every oblation we make, Om Shri Lakshmi Matayai Swaha, Om Shri Saraswati Matayai Swaha, etc. That is where the oblations to the gods are carried by a projection of Lakshmi Mata known as Swaha. And equally, when we perform Shrad, if one father has passed on, simple act, Om Mama Pitri Stipidam Dam Tilanjali, Swadha. We take the name Swadha and we offer it. So Lakshmi Mata, in a nutshell, covers all these grounds, and is names that we need to be familiar with. It's names you should make part and parcel of the prayer at some point in time in the not too distant future. And as we sit in satsang, we give the reasons why. As we recall these names, where the mind should be ticking, and when the mind ticks in that direction, it ought to impact on how we too handle our daily lives and our daily undertakings. So we turn our attention in this session to Durga Mata. Be reminded in our next session, we will be dealing with the other 3 forms of Devi who ought to be worshipped during Raatri. And Durga Mata, she is of course the spouse of Bhagwan Shiva. She is also referred to as Mother Parvati, Gauri Mata, etc. She is worshipped with red flowers, established only as satsang. And we look at Devi Bhagavad and we see the potency of worship of Mother Durga. Among her portfolio, Parama Papa Handri Cha. Pap is sins and Handri is destroyer or destruction. She is the one who helps to destroy the wages of sins. Sometimes we might be set in our ways, and through Mother Durga's graces, we might be led into satsang, where certain habits, certain mannerisms, which bring discomfort to others, sometimes how we talk to others, maybe we may be able to polish up on those malpractices because we find ourselves in satsang and something inspiring is said as regards our books are concerned, and it may shake us into proper behavior and accepted behavior, and in this way the sins are destroyed. So she takes us down the corridor of satsang at the feet of gurus, at the seat of sadhus and sadhwines, where we get the art of not creating discomfort, not only to our fellow man, but also to the environment. Yamaloka bhavakalati yam puja yamagraja. Everybody fears death, Yam, who is controlled by Yamraj. But Devi Bhagavad says that if even one whose actions are more negative than positive and has landed up at the hour of expiration of life in the sphere of Yamraj, Durga Mata has a call. She can make a call to release such a person from the grasp of Yamraj. Why? Yamapuja Yamagraja. Because Yamraj has been known to repeatedly perform Durga Mata's puja, seeking her blessings. And so, if she calls on him, he's willing to accept her proposal to release whoever might be trapped by him. And how can this happen? This singular act can happen by the act of Shraddha, by the act of Tilanjali, just cupping the hands, offering, making 3 offerings as recommended with the white rice, black till and water, with the proper recitation, something which takes less than a minute, can appeal to Durga Mata. Well, listen, because leading up to the period of Dasgat is a period of redress. And she realizes that the offsprings of whoever has passed on or whoever is taking the part, the Mritakaram part, they are helping to release that person who is in the grasp of Yamraj. And so she intervenes with her blessings. Sanganasha Kari Kamya, she too is the one who will help us to get out of negative practices that are entrenched in us. So we have the condition where we sometimes allow ourselves to be misguided, and then there's sometimes when we are very assertive and we walk down the wrong road. Even those situations can be helped by Durga Mata. So as we make preparations to move into Raatri, a quick reminder, when making the offerings, we will just recap the mantra again. And the offering is best made with these 3 fingers, as explained previously in Haman. One can hold the Haman spoon with these fingers, be leaving out the ego and be leaving out Tamogun. We want God, we want Satgun and Rajagun. Mantra being Om, Aim, Hrim, Klim, Chamundaya, which I had, Swaha. So once again, we thank you for joining us on SWA DHARMA on Sankhya TV. And by Devi's grace, we will have a well-meaning Navratri. And by Devi's grace again, we meet and greet in Satsang next week. Sitaram.